The man accused of killing rapper Takeoff was released from jail earlier this week. Let's talk about the details. My name is Jamahl Kersey. I'm the principal attorney at Kersey Law, a boutique criminal defense firm in San Diego, California. And in this video, we're talking about the recent release of the man accused of killing Takeoff. And his name is Patrick Clark. He's 33 years old, and he's being charged with murder for having shot Takeoff on November 1st. Clark was arrested about a month later on December 1st. When you're booked into custody, the sheriff is generally going to set a bail amount that's based on the charge that you're booked under. And so it's based on what's called the bail schedule, and each county has its own bail schedule that indicates the amount of bail for each charge. And so the more serious the charge, the higher the bail amount is going to be. For example, here in San Diego, the bail on a DUI is $2,500. The bail on felony domestic violence is $50,000. And the bail on voluntary manslaughter is $100,000. So you can see it escalates with the level of seriousness of the offense that's alleged. So at the arraignment, which is the first hearing in a criminal case, the defendant is made aware of the charges and he's going to enter a plea that's almost always going to be not guilty. And after the not guilty plea is entered, then the judge is going to ask the district attorney whether they take a position on bail. And so there are two main issues that the judge is concerned with when addressing bail. Number one, whether the person is going to be a danger to the community, and number two, whether the person is going to be a flight risk. As for whether a person is going to be considered a danger to the community, this is going to be based on a combination of both the defendant's criminal history and the level of seriousness of the instant charges. And so the judge is concerned with, if I let you out of custody, are you going to put the safety of the public at risk? In this case, a murder charge is as serious as it gets. And so there's going to be a fair level of concern from both the judge and the DA in terms of releasing somebody who's facing murder charges. And regarding flight risk, this has to do with, is the person, if they get released, are they actually going to show up to court when scheduled, or are they just going to skip town and never show up to court? So the DA will either ask that the bail be remain as set originally by the sheriff's department, or if there are aggravating facts or circumstances, they can ask for increased bail. So in this case, the DA actually asks that the bail be set at $2 million. The DA alleges that Clark fired multiple gunshots into a crowd, and this is what ultimately killed Takeoff. Takeoff was apparently an unarmed, innocent bystander in this situation. He was fatally shot, unfortunately, in the back and in the head. And Patrick Clark was identified as the shooter via surveillance video. There were multiple cell phone videos, and there were also fingerprints tying him to this shooting. The DA had argued that Clark was a flight risk because he apparently had requested an expedited passport and had plans to travel to Mexico. And so with somebody facing murder charges, you could see how this would be problematic. Listen, if you're convicted of murder, you're facing up to life in prison. And so the assumption is that someone's gonna leave, especially leave the country, and never come back. So the judge ended up siding with the prosecutor and set bail at $2 million. Now the purpose of bail is to guarantee that a person is going to show up at future court dates. If the person posts bail but doesn't show up to court, then their money is forfeited, and that offers an incentive for the person to actually show up to court. But the bail system is not supposed to penalize people just for being poor or lacking resources. Unfortunately, this is actually how it plays out a lot, and there actually has been a lot of movements and reform to address this very issue. So Clark's defense attorneys filed a motion for the reduction of bail. They argued that the $2 million amount was excessive, and then on top of that, the family just could not come up with the amount required in order to have him released. And so even if you go through a bail bondsman, you're gonna have to pay 10%. And so if you're talking about a $2 million bail, that's $200,000, and that is a lot of money to come up with. So on the defense side of things, we emphasize our clients' ties to the community, because the more community ties they have, the less likely there's going to be a risk of flight. So in this case, they indicated that Patrick Clark actually lives at home with his parents. He attends Houston Community College, and he's a local DJ. He had actually stated no income, and so obviously a person with no income is not going to be able to pay $200,000 to be released from custody. So as part of the evidence presented to the court, the defense called Clark's father as a witness to testify on his behalf. And his father was able to clarify that Clark did not make plans to leave town in order to not show back up to court. On the contrary, they had a pre-planned family vacation, and that was the reason he was going to go to Mexico. So the judge ended up lowering the bail to $1 million. Obviously, that's still a significant amount, but $100,000 to pay to a bail bondsman is obviously a lot less than $200,000. It's been reported that a family friend actually put up the money, resulting in Clark's release. And as a condition of Clark's release, he's been ordered to stay at home on house arrest, and he's subject to GPS electronic monitoring. Now, Clark will be back in court on March 9th. Takeoff, the victim in this case, was obviously a public figure and a beloved one at that. You know, after his death, so many artists came out and just said how wonderful of a person he was. He was a quiet and reserved guy who never caused problems with anybody. So I'm sure there are a lot of people who are upset or feel some kind of way about Patrick Clark being released. But the reality is he enjoys the presumption of innocence. He is innocent unless and until he's proven guilty, and that would be by either him pleading guilty or him going to trial and being found guilty. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Clark being released. Do you think it's fair? Are you upset about it? Let me know your thoughts. Clark's attorney had issued a statement saying, "We believe Patrick is innocent, and at the appropriate time, the evidence will reveal that to be the case." Again, based on the representations by the district attorney, it appears that multiple videos place Clark as the shooter. And so if we assume this to be true, then it seems really the only way that Clark could possibly be innocent is if he were acting in self-defense. So the law says that a person's use of deadly force that would otherwise be considered murder is not a crime if the person reasonably believed that the force used was immediately necessary to protect himself against another person's unlawful use of deadly force. So Clark allegedly firing these shots into the crowd, would at least be considered reckless discharge of a firearm or possibly attempted murder or murder. But if another person had pulled a weapon first and Clark believed that his life was endangered, his actions may have actually been legally justified. But this becomes a tricky legal issue when we talk about a person acting in self-defense but then harming an innocent bystander. And so this analysis is probably beyond the scope of this video. In fact, it really is. But Clark's attorneys, based on their statement, really seem to believe that his name will eventually be cleared. Well, with all due respect to Takeoff, rest in peace, his family, loved ones, friends, and fans, that's gonna be it for this video. And so if you got something out of it, please show me some love and hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you turn on the notifications so you never miss a new video when it drops. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.